and Mr. Kumar Koirala, Procurement Consultant. एक Ajay sir, please take the session forward.
Hello. Hi, thank you very much and very good evening. And thanks to IHE and HPMF, where people have created the very beautiful platform where suppliers, buyers, and sitting under one roof and doing the calibration, expectation to enhance the business. Meeting means business. And I think after COVID, we are just meeting first time where people are just refreshing our coordinates also. Now, our topic is how the procurement function is an enabler to enhance the business profitability. If you see the overall cycle of the supply chain, there are three major stakeholders are involved. One is a business, second is a procurement, and third is a industry. In industry, you will find the partners, suppliers, logistics suppliers, all these things. If you see all the three gears are not aligned, there will be some knocking in the system, which leads to customer dissatisfaction, rework, and lot of leakage in the system. We need to work in a very synchronized manner so that we will able to deliver the right kind of output. Now, we will start the panel discussion with Mr. Sanjay. What do you mean by business enabler to enhance the profitability?
The very word business means it is, it has components of the subject and the enabler. Now, the subject is the opportunity to make money, and the enabler are the stakeholders. Now, from a procurement perspective, unless there is an input, there is no, I would say, there is no traction for business. So, procurement actually brings in the initial platform to create opportunity, and through that opportunity, business is taken forward. Now, in the present times, when material or services is required to achieve that business goal, unless it is procured at a right price, the input will always define what the profit would be. And that is the motive. And if procurement is not enabling the entire business environment, then somewhere down the line, the motive is not achieved. So, as what I'm sure the panelists would bring in various aspects of enabling, but I think without procurement, there is no business. And if it is streamlined, if it is given the right traction at every level of the business, definitely the top line and the bottom line improves. Yeah. That's what I would say at the moment.
Yeah. Chandan, you want to add?
Yes, I will surely add on to this. There are two things for efficiency. First thing is you earn more or you spend less. So earning more means you don't have define means how you will get business and all those things. But in procurement, most of the things are defined and you can control those. So once you reduce your cost, your efficiency goes high, your profitability goes high. So procurement is sort of a genie. They can give you, if your process is streamlined, so you can get a lot of this thing. Sorry. So you can have a good efficient and economical supply chain, which will contribute to business profitability. That's the main aim.
Yeah. Ma'am, you want to add something?
As an introduction to procurement as such, I think first of all, we all need to understand what do we understand under the word procurement. And it's not something that we can just start, and even if we have an inquiry from an internal inquiry or we have an external finding to be done. I give a lot of importance, and I feel, to market research. Market is changing every day. Technical specifications are changing, materials are evolving. So if we have a set of, say, items that we have been procuring for a particular department over so many years, and maybe even the department head, when he is even sending his purchase request to you, is still. So we as a procurement head or somebody who is managing that whole process should be able to give them options and opportunity. And we can only do that and to keep the profitability in mind, and to look at the life cycle analysis of the product. So we can use a sort of good, better, best approach when we actually portray to the management. There might be big capital expense that we are involved in procurement. So that also can be done. So in my opinion, it's not just buying something, or it's not just the life cycle, but there's a lot of other back-end work that we need to do before we take that big procurement or a buying decision.
Yeah. Yusuf, you want to add something?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. The discussion whether procurement is an enabler is an important one. It's definitely one of the most important enablers in any organization, not only hospitality. However, what one sees, and as Dr. Chandok also put it, that a lot of times the procurement person focuses only on one thing, which is typically the unit cost. So the entire approach is how to lower the unit cost. However, when is looking as an enabler in the business, one needs to think beyond that as to what is the kind of product I am buying, how is the total cost going to be. So any product over its period of life, I would say, has a purchase price, a maintenance cost, a replacement price. So what are these? Get into that kind of an analysis. Look at what is the kind of service the vendor is giving. So therefore, how much inventory you have to maintain. All these are costs, the kind of storage space that you have to open. But a lot of times the focus is that if I have reduced the unit price, then I have done my job. And then it is the operations department's headache to manage that thing. That is not a well done process. That is not how we can become enablers. Unless we think about how the product is going to affect the total organization and how the total cost is going to look like, we will just be another cog in the wheel. So I think the attempt has to be to think beyond unit cost, to think beyond what discount you are getting on the product, and to look at the product as how it will fit into the operation scheme of things and what will be its total cost over its period of time. So just those are the 2 points.
Thank you very much. Just to add, if you see it is a house where if you see organization has the strategy where the different functions like sales, marketing, operation, and similarly supply chain, procurement have their own strategy. We need to align our strategy with the organization strategy so that we will able to reach to the level where organization is thinking. Now if you see there are 2 or 3 type of leader. One is a transactional leader, second is a transformation leader. Currently if you see in the overall system where the procurement team is working as a transactional, but we need to work as a transformation so that we will able to add value in the system and people will just think, yes, they are the enabler to enhance our the business profitability. Now my second question to Chandan, what are the different leverage in the sourcing process and the procurement process where it will impact or enhance our profitability?
Actually, I would say, procurement has evolved a lot in last 2 or 3 decades, rather than 25, last 25 years. Earlier what it was just simple, get the 3 codes towards the lesser code and we go with that. Now there are many things. We focus on the specifications, we focus on the quality, we focus on the other terms and conditions. It's not just the price. It's not just the price. It's other terms and conditions. What are the payment terms? Whether we want to give in the advance, whether we want to give in credit period, or part of advance. Not many things. What is the total life cycle of the product? What are the SLAs? Those things have to be captured. It's a long thing. It's a lengthy process. SCM, it was just simple. This cost. That's it.
Now I will request, thank you. Now I will request Mr. Kumar to add something. The question is, what are the different leverages in the sourcing process which can enhance or enabler to increase the profitability?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question. See, first of all, what we need to understand is who is not buying. See, if we see in a different manner, everybody is buying one thing or the other. But who is procuring? Procuring is full process. Yeah. The full process, when we talk about the full process, is the crucial thing is the identifying the need. What is the need for that particular organization? What is required? And if we identify the need, then it comes to your network or that database that you have for the vendors. And there are other processes like sourcing and the other processes of the procurement. And as he also said, like the other things like storing your goods. And if we talking about the processes, like, so I'm sorry that I'm not
Well, I think when we talk about leverage, leverage depends on what are your options. So if you are in a situation where you can define those options, then you will get more leverage. So if you are buying something, for example, one item from one vendor, then your leverage is extremely limited. So as procurement enablers in the organization, it is always our fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we know what is happening and therefore you can create options. Once you have options, you will automatically have leverage in the system. What are the other forms of leverage? So one is of course your brand. It's the biggest leverage most of the times. A lot of people would love to work with your brand. It may not bring them any direct monetary benefit, but there is always the pride of association with something. Number two is that what is it that you get to the vendor other than the pride? So obviously you look at his products being over here, which can rub off in other terms. So I might decide to buy, for example, my bathroom amenities at a very low cost, but the vendor gets access to 5,000 room nights in the Oberoi at absolutely very low cost. So if I look at it from a marketing perspective, that's a huge leverage. So how do you exploit that leverage? Then other smaller leverages, for example, how much you buy at a time, for example, quantity. Okay, how do you buy it? Do you buy it 25, do you buy it 10 times in a month or you buy it 1 time in a month? A well-efficient oil process will be able to aggregate inventory. The moment you start aggregation, you will start getting more leverage. You reduce the work of the supplier, you will always get leverage. So the thinking has to be not that what I need today. Imagine you have a buyer who always calls up the supplier and says, I need this thing tomorrow because my processes are so inefficient that I forgot to order 1 week back. That will always create pressure. Then you will never have leverage. Then you only have sympathy. So that is not an idea. So if your processes are in place, if you are able to do these 1, 2, 3 things, then definitely there's always leverage. And one thing I'd like to end up with is saying is that there is always leverage. Even if you are in a single supplier situation, there is always leverage. You have to know what to us, when to us. Not all suppliers are looking at making a fast buck. There are people who want to engage over a period of time and build a brand. You have to tap into that ethos, therefore you get that leverage. Thank you.
Manish, you want to add something?
Well, thanks for extending the question, Ajay. In my understanding, my thought process completely resonates, and relates to what the leaders have said so far. And in current context, as I am able to see, the current business environment is entirely, supply chain environment. Any organization is more of a supply chain organization. If you are able to, gaze through almost all sorts of industries, they end up sourcing from 20% to 80% of their core, requirement they get it from outside, and then final product is transformed and then launched in the market. So here, there are a hell lot of like all such activities which are there while opting for the right product and ensuring that opting for that product means that you're going to achieve the ultimate goal of getting that final profit that you're looking at for the growth of the organization. So rightly what Mr. Osaf said, there are various leverages which can be attributed to very specific situations which are subjective, right? And at the same time, I think that in current context, I think research and market research on the current supply market, where probably you are trying to, sell your product, and also the not just the research, there is like the risk factors which are like mostly ignored. Like in all enthusiasm, we have seen that there are various new promoters, new businessmen. They come and kind of introduce a new product without doing proper research, and yeah, at the back end they tend to get into their resources to fulfill their own requirement to convert it to the final product that they are going to launch into the market. So obviously they lack in that, and then they end up into a very difficult situation. So I think probably these 2 points are very important in today's context. And I completely agree with all other panelists. Yeah.
Thank you, Manish. Just to sum up, if you see the overall cycle of the supply chain and the procurement process, where if you see the first process start from the quality of the supplier, selection of the supplier. In the selection of the supplier, where we need to take care of capability of the supplier, scalability, and the quality of the supplier, even the management of the supplier, and accordingly we need to align our business objective along with the supplier. The selection of the supplier is a critical element. Second is inventory, managing the inventory. In most of the organization, where if you see the inventory is a cost to the organization, where most of the organization they are just asked is inventory is managed by the partner, so that they are just offloading the inventory cost to the partner's level, so that we can enhance our profitability.
If somebody finds a key for a Maruti Suzuki,
and the third one is a contract management. I think is also very important parameter, where if you see where we can add is a price variation clause also, because some of the raw material or maybe the other element which is linked with the raw material, and there is a fluctuation in the dollar, it will lead to increase in the cost, and then we should have some price variation clause. And like if you see the hedging also, like dollar price, all these are the basically element. And the last one is a technology is also very And the last one is a technology. I think that we need to focus on the technology. There is a concept where people are saying we need to work in the lean manner. It is eliminate the muda. Muda is basically wastage. We need to see in the complete overall cycle how to optimize or remove the wastage in the processes, so that we will have the straight pass processes, and where we will be able to get more and more profitability and able to meet the customer expectation on time. These are the basically leverage in the overall sourcing process. Now my next question to Mr. Sanjay.
अगर किसी को कोई भी कार की चाबी मिले तो कृपया करके उसे सिक्योरिटी डेस्क या हॉल मैनेजर को दे दें.
My question is, as a sourcing head, as a procurement head, what are the different strategies you people have adapted to meet the organization objective in terms of the profitability?
See, as an efficient procurement person, the most important aspect is to be aware of the ecosystem in which you are supposed to perform this role. Now, lot many times, especially in hospitality, what happens is one tends to become more transactional than transformational, as you rightly said. It's only when you become transformational you are aware of the ecosystem. And once you are aware of the ecosystem, then only you are able to make an informed decision about what your input will bring in terms of profitability in the organization. Because operations will always depend on inputs from the procurement person. because they are busy in their own, I would say, rigmarole. But because the procurement professional is aligned with the market, see, classical example is we are here in IHE, we are all professional, procurement professionals. There is so much of input. Unless we are aware of the ecosystem in our respective workspaces, how will we be able to connect the vendors with the operational requirements? We cannot. So that awareness is something which is very important to be developed and then enabled in terms of technology, process automation, and of course, I would say artificial intelligence is way out, but I think that's the way. Eventually, we all will be going through that process. But as of now, that awareness is something which we all need to develop and we all need to focus to achieve that end objective of profitability.
Thank you. Yusuf, you want to add something? What are the different strategies adopted by the supply chain or the procurement head?
Well, I think as a procurement head in an efficient running organization,
The Purchase Managers Forum is currently in session. Anybody interested can gather at the IHE conference area. Thank you.
I would say thank you to her also. So, I think one of the things is in any efficient system, one must be ready to understand that you cannot do everything. You might do, I've heard a lot of time people say I did 99 things right, one thing screwed up and I got the blame. It is always going to be like that because we are in a service industry and what is the requirement of the guest? You cannot really anticipate each and everything. So the first thing is to believe, take a deep breath and say that things will be okay and whatever happens will happen for the good and you are a human and you cannot do each and everything right. So accept that when you start. Secondly, as Sanjay said, be aware about what you can and what you cannot do.
Anybody interested to join the Purchase Managers Forum that's currently in session at the IHE conference area, please gather at Hall 10.
I can see that Mr. Ajay Khanna arrived in the hall after listening to the announcement, so we should be thankful to her again. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is to be aware as to, in the market that we operate, what is it that can happen, what has happened in the past. And a lot of times, the response is you just ask for it right now. But even the other operation person could be having their own challenge. So it is important to understand that people are not here. Nobody comes in the morning and says that I am going to make your life difficult today.
Managers Forum. The Kitchen Equipment Standards Forum will begin from 5 o'clock. Please gather at the conference area to join the session.
Okay, we have been warned now. So I think it's important to understand, nobody gets up in the morning and comes to the office and says, I am going to do a lousy job today. We are all there to do good jobs, but sometimes circumstances happen like that. Third is to have whatever information you have, like say you have a morning meeting or something, get what are the critical issues, note them down so that you have a much efficient way. Lastly, I would say you must also be able to enjoy life a bit. A lot of times I see procurement managers are there for 12, 14 hours in an organization, but you sometimes have to step back and enjoy life also so that you are recharged and next day you can do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, just to add, if you see one of is a famous author, Kotler, has given the strategy about the organization profitability, and it is based upon the 3C principle. One is a customer. We need to understand the dream of the customer. End of the day, if you are able to enhance the customer and my customers are satisfied, definitely we will able to get more or we will able to earn more and more profitability. And the second is a competitive advantage or competitive edge. We need to understand the strategy of the competitors in order to penetrate in the market. And the third is a cost. Is very important element where if you see procurement can add value in order to optimize the cost. I'm not saying we need to reduce the cost, we need to cut the cost. We need to see how we can add value in the system so that people are able to create an ecosystem with our partners as well as our internal stakeholders. Now my last question is related to cost of poor quality. Now my question is to Mr. Chandan. What do you mean by the cost of poor quality?
Cost of poor quality in procurement, it can be regarding the inventory.
Speak louder and
It can be for the warehousing where the inventories are high, or it can be delays in the supplies. So that can be a cost of poor quality based on supply chain. If we have huge inventories, after some time they can turn stale or outdated. So it's cost of poor quality. We are just wasting money on that. If they are not imports, they are locally sourced, we can source them in just-in-time type of things. That happens in manufacturing. So all those things, like for others, delayed deliveries. Our guests are waiting for food, and we are not able to deliver them as required material. That is the cost of. We have lost a customer. So that is cost of poor quality. So this can be improved. We can have ABC analysis. We can have ideal stocks of the inventories. We can have well-defined supply chain. When should what is the lead time of the material? How much time it should take from the manufacturer or the supplier or the origination? What are the how it will travel to? How much you guys stock? Those are the major points.
add something on the cost of poor quality.
So, regarding the cost of poor quality, this would actually also start from the intent when you are actually procuring
Attention,
and
please.
taking that decision.
Currently in session, the Purchase Managers Forum at Hall number 10, Conference Area. Following that, the Kitchen Equipment Standards Forum. Please gather at Hall 10, IHE Conclave, Conference Area.
So what I would say is that it's very important when you are taking that procurement decision to not go for a poor quality or because of just the pricing. And if the procurement head has a lot of responsibility in putting together, I'll give you a very simple example. We were doing a project and the cost of a guest room door lock was a question. And we had 3 options and we gave a good, better, best option, but the management took a decision to buy the 4th option, which was much cheaper, probably 50% cheaper. So the sort of debate was that, okay, I will change my lock and still I match the price. And trust me, in a span of 1 year, the whole hotel locks we had to change. So where is the poor quality going? Poor quality of guest experience, poor quality of even operation management. So all those things affect ultimately the revenue because the profitability will totally be affected because your guest, because he's not had a good experience, will never come back, or they will not make it as the first choice hotel if they come in the next time. So choice of poor quality. I also feel another very important thing is that we should also standardize our specifications. Whenever a department raises an intent, it's very important for the procurement team to ask them to actually micro-detail what they need. Because sometimes the expectancy from the department and the procurement head might not be 100% clear. So that also may be a poor quality buy decision. This is something, I think it's all a vicious cycle, and as they said, procurement is not just buying. It's also a very big process that gets into the whole process, and then only you take that final decision.
Adding into this, the cost of poor quality, like it is knowingly or unknowingly, if we buy any poor quality, the whole process, not only the price or you are defaming the brand of your property as well. And apart from that, the time that we have invested in terms of sourcing, that is also a loss, not only a monetary loss. The time that we have invested is also, that is what I feel.
A lot of times I've seen that while the overall objective is to provide, let's say in case of hospitality, a great product, a great service, the challenges of each department are very different. So let's say the operations team or the project team wants to provide a great product, luxurious, top of the line, whatever. Unfortunately, the procurement team of the same organization is measured on कि कितने पैसे बचा है or how much have you reduced. So sometimes these goals are diametrically opposite. You have to pay for good quality, you have to pay for good service. But if you're going to measure the person on how much he has saved, then his entire focus is going to be कि at least 5 रुपए तो कम करना. मतलब अच्छा, so you are not ready to reduce. So let me get an L2 vendor. He will do it. But is he meeting the aspirations of the operations team or the projects team? Maybe not. Then all sorts of compromises start happening in terms of the final product. And then you are neither here nor there. So it is important to understand that if you are going to measure somebody on providing a top of the line quality and the other person on how much cost he has saved, these are diametrically opposite. So acknowledge that upfront, saying that we are all in it together and what we need is great quality. Second is that a lot of time, what is the cost of poor quality is like driving with a rear view mirror. Unless you are actually going to do something new, you will not know whether this is going to be poor quality or good quality. You have some indicators when you start. Is the supplier a great one? Is he supplying elsewhere? But your relationship with that particular person is going to be a unique one. So how is it going to turn out? You really don't know. So a lot of time procurement person also hide behind the fact ये चलता है तो इसको change नहीं करने का. So let's not do anything because this supplier might give poor quality. So that also becomes a deterrent that you don't want to do any innovation. You just want to continue things that they are. Then the organization also starts looking into why is this guy only going with this? Why is he not changing it? So in a lot of organizations, you also have the tendency shoot the messenger. I do something. If it goes good, nobody will say anything. But if it goes bad, then I'll kill you. So that is the other tendency. Third is when you talk about poor quality or cost of poor quality, you have to understand what is quality. So quality is meeting specifications. So what is specifications? Specifications is what you or your guest wants. A lot of times one sees that what you imagine you want in a product and what you put down on paper are completely different things. A lot of time what you think you're not able to translate it. When you're not able to translate it, when you send it to procurement and procurement send it, they're not able to understand it. So you ask for an elephant, I'll give you a horse. Okay, because at the end of the day, both have got 4 legs. But it is totally different. Somebody has understood that I need an animal which has 4 legs, which has got a tail, which has got a head. So horse, elephant also, but you need an elephant. So a lot of times, when the specification itself is not clear, you don't know what quality to aspire for. And when you don't know what is going to aspire for, then it becomes a case of poor quality. Similarly, one should also understand that there is a cost of good quality. So you might say that, okay, this supplier is great, I'll go with him, he's got great quality, but are you overpaying for that? A lot of times we go, okay, this is the brand, I need that brand, but there might be an equally good brand. A lot of times you see this in case of pharmaceutical products. You're buying Crocin. At the end of the day, it is paracetamol. So GSK will be selling at 10 rupees. Somebody else will be selling at 5 rupees. Now the question is, have you done your research and understood what is the product? A lot of times it's very convenient, okay, this is the brand, let's go with the brand. But then there's a cost of good quality. You're paying extra probably. So I think it's a balance between both of them. But you have to understand that what are the aspirations. You are measured on those aspirations and not something diametrically opposite. You don't use cost of poor quality as an excuse not to do innovation. And you recognize the fact that there is also a cost of good quality. That's
Thank you, Yusuf. I think the first process starts from the selection of the vendor. We need to award the contract based upon the QCDMS model. Q stand for quality, where if you see we need to understand the quality of the partner, systems and other things, because inspection is a cost. If you start layering the inspection at your end, definitely you need to pay more and more cost. We need to see how we can get the assurance from the partner or the supplier so that we will have is a direct online or without doing any inspection, we can use those products or the services. Second is a cost is also very important element where if you see if you start doing rework, definitely it will just impact or it will impact our deliverables also, and where we are not able to fulfill our customer requirement on time, then definitely it will impact our profitability. And the last is a deliverable. If you are planning to start some project and you have engaged some tier 2, tier 3 partner where he is not able to meet your quality but your cost is, it is able to meet your cost, then during the execution of the project, then you will have some challenge where if you see in terms of the scalability, delivery of the component or the parts and on time, then the whole project, it will be in the mess stage. So I think it is somewhere we need to see the holistic view, then only we need to award the selection of the vendor is very important in order to optimize the poor quality. Now just to add,
Okay, so thank you for that. I think there has to be an evaluation matrix on quality established already by these stakeholders. If that is available in the organization, a lot of cost of poor quality can be avoided. Now, establishing the matrix is a responsibility of the people responsible for the business. What is expected and what is the matrix under which the operating teams have to work. If that doesn't happen, then we run the risk. Because then there is no guideline, everything becomes subjective, and you know there's a quote in my office which I put. I know most of the people will hold me to it. If Shah Jahan had taken 3 quotes for everything, Taj Mahal wouldn't have been built the way it is. So, of course, the parameters were fixed. I'm sure most of the vendors, why did the China model change? Now today, we were in IHE itself. A lot of our partners here were saying, oh, China to khatam ho gaya. But Indian suppliers are now very confident that they are able to deliver because China is paying for the cost of poor quality. The perception was that, hey, the quality is poor, hence it will not last. So I think that's something which the fraternity can relate to. Thank you.
Just like to add a few more points. All the points they are very good, but means few more things are there. Means firstly, we should do basic capacity analysis of a vendor, whether he will be able to support us with the quantity of the services as well as the product that he is supplying to us. And going with the means when people are more concerned about environment and everything, he should be regulatory compliant and he should be innovative also, so that he can support us. Maybe we are not able to, that is his core. It's not our core. So he should be able to guide us on the products which is innovative. That's it.
I think there is one concept, it is called the PPT, is not a PowerPoint presentation. I think if you see how the paradigm is shifting, before 70s, there was a concept in where the industries, they used to deploy more and more manpower to execute any job. But if you see what are the different challenges in terms of the meeting the quality parameters or the cost was very high, and then the people have started, can we have the processes? Next is people, they move to the processes, and then there was a concept of the quality assurance, and we need to have the process flow diagrams and all these controls also in the processes. Now everybody is talking about the technology, where with the help of the technology, we are able to optimize the cost also, and we will get more and more assurance, and we will able to understand where is the failure so that quickly we can take some actions. These are the basically new concept where the industry is just evolving. I think that we have just closed the panel discussion, and I will request this audience, if you have any question, please come, and definitely our esteemed panelists, they will able to give some insight about your query or questions.
Good evening, I'm Ajay Khanna from Eagle Forgings. Been in the industry for 35 years and have been hugely supported by almost everybody on the dais. Your comment, Madhu, was absolutely 100% right. Poor quality leads to reputation and leads to loss of revenue. And of course, what he said also, that you have to redo the entire purchase. We've always tried to keep quality up, and I really request, especially hoteliers who are in the mid-market, who are now coming up, that is the area where quality needs to be brought in. Most of the leading hoteliers have a quality assurance and know what they need to buy and who they buy from. But a lot of work has to be done by the purchase managers, forums, various, whichever ones they are, or the housekeepers, that the mid-market hotels are still owner-driven. Owner has his purchase manager and owner has his financial controller. And that is where actually I find the biggest problems happen. So it's a request from seniors if this could be brought and made even better. But thank you very much for the opportunity. And that was my time.
IHG conclave. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For great insight. Now I'm just going to finish our panel discussion and with some summary. I think the first ask or the discussion point is how the procurement function is aligned with the business function in order to enhance the profitability. I think somewhere we need to work in a very collaborative manner with the business. It is called the pre-engagement. I think we should just work on the proactive approach rather than the reactive approach. As a procurement function, if you are waiting, business will share some specification and then you will start hunting the supplier, or maybe if you see, you will discover the vendor or maybe find out the good quality, all these things. I think we should have all the details and we need to engage the partner at the early stage so that before doing all these things, we should have all the information in our hand, so that we will be able to align our business objectives. Sorry. Then before you finish. And the second was, what are the different leverages? We have just seen, I think the extreme panelists, people have shared. One is a quality, second is a warehouse inventory, how people are just managing, and third is a cost of poor quality. We need to work in a very collaborative manner with our suppliers so that we will be able to share what is our expectation in terms of the specification, in terms of the functional aspect of the product or the services, so that they will be able to, while designing the product, they will be able to share. And parallelly, we need to see how we can use more and more technology-based sourcing, where you see most of the organization, in order to optimize and quick wrap up of the negotiation process, people are just following the reverse process, reverse or e-bidding process also, where it should be a win-win situation for the buyer as well as the supplier, where quickly people are able to turn around in terms of the negotiation process and people are able to meet the expectation of our internal system, because negotiation is a never-ending process. If you start keeping negotiating with the partner, I think somewhere we need to draw the line between the responsiveness and the effectiveness. Your responsiveness is your TAT, or how fast you are able to close your deals, and the effectiveness is your cost. Then we need to draw the line so that quickly people are able to meet the expectation of our internal stakeholders. And the last is, I think we could discuss cost of poor quality. It is a kind of iceberg, and a lot of things people are not able to visualize at the upper part of the ice, but I think at the bottom we need to see the inventory is also very important element in the cost of poor quality. If there is any challenge during the quality process, definitely we need to keep more and more inventory, which will impact our profitability. Inventory and the plus alpha, the river cost is also impacting the profitability, because more and more rework, and then it will just delay the complete sourcing process, and we will not get the deliveries on time. And thank you. इसके बाद मैं अपने शब्दों को विराम करता हूँ, and I will request Nitin sir to add.
Hearing everyone and the extreme panelists as well, that coming from a design background, I feel, when we are building a hotel, when we are building our rooms, we do a mock-up room. Why do we do a mock-up room? Because if we are building 100 rooms, we need to make sure that each thing is in place, and if there are any changes to be made, is made in that mock-up room, so that we have a control room that we can follow. I think that mock-up room process for a procurement process, again, a lot of responsibility lies on the procurement fraternity to do between the vendor and actually the buyer as a collaboration. You know, what do you think? I think your thoughts also on the same. And it just came to my mind, that I think that's the process, and sometimes we don't have the time to do that process where we actually get something which probably even we are not satisfied because of time period that is required for a responsible purchase is what I would say. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful session.
Radhika, I think we are on time.
आप बोलोगे ना? May I request Nitin sir to speak, please say a few words.
So thank you Ajay and thanks everyone for this wonderful session. Very, very informative. 2 साल बाद हम मिल रहे हैं and then it's really nice to connect with everyone. My special thanks to Mr. Jingan for organizing and coordinating with everyone for getting such a lovely, beautiful panel. The vision of HPMF is development of procurement professionals and we are on the right track. हम 12वें साल में है. We are more than 6,000 members within India and I would call it the neighboring country. So we are in Middle East, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Maldives. Soon we'll be 10,000 and I'm sure all of us can collectively do wonderful job for the industry. Our convention is happening in November from 10th to 12th of November at Calcutta in JW Marriott. I would request all of you to please participate and be a part of this wonderful session. Can I request the HPMF members to come on stage so then we can take a group photo. First, let's have a group photo of this gentleman and a man. Yeah, sure.
May I request Dadu sir to please come on stage to present the mementos. Dadu sir. May I please request Mr. Sameer to also join us on the stage, please? First memento, sir, Madhu ma'am.
To join the session regarding the kitchen equipment standards, please gather at all heads IHG conference area. The session will begin shortly. Thank you.
Mr. Osif Francis. Mr. Sanjay Varghese. Mr. Chandan Qasid. Mr. Manish Jha. Mr. Kumar Koirala. And Mr. Ajay Kapoor, thank you for moderating the session, sir. Sir, can we have a group photograph, please?
standards is to begin shortly at the conference area, hall number 10, IHE Conclave. Please join us at hall number 10, IHE Conclave to join the session. Thank you.
Our next session for the day, importance, challenges and solutions of plumbing in the hospitality sector with Make in India products. Since we are running short of time, I would want to start the session immediately.